Welcome to the Franklin County, North Carolina podcast. I'm James Hicks, and this is a podcast about Franklin County, North Carolina. On our broadcast, we hope you will learn a few things you didn't know about Franklin County, North Carolina, plus some helpful tips for you in your daily lives. Today, I'm joined by Emilee Johnson, who is Executive Director of Maria Parham Franklin here in Lewisburg. So welcome to the podcast, Emilee. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So... And I realize when I intro, I think your title actually is Executive Director of something for Maria Parham. So you might have to give me a little bit more on that. But, Executive Director just is the easy title.
It is the easy title. The official title is Executive Director of Operations for Maria Parham Franklin.
Okay. And how long have you been there doing that?
I have been with Maria Parham for 19 years and at the Maria Parham Franklin site since last April 2022.
Okay. And what did you do before the promotion, we'll say?
Yeah. So I started with Maria Parham as an occupational therapist about 19 years ago. So I worked as a clinician treating patients with all different types of upper extremity disabilities and surgery and that type of thing. And I slowly started doing some leadership roles through the hospital and was allowed to kind of grow in place, per se. Had some great mentors that helped me along the way and really took me under their wing. And I took on some leadership roles in the hospital, and that ultimately led to becoming this Executive Director of Operations.
And I think this is right because I remember for a little bit of knowledge for the listeners, we were at Leadership Franklin together this year. You're from a state that I have never met someone from, right? Originally,
I am. I'm from North Dakota.
North Dakota. I wanted to make sure it was right, North Dakota. But you've been here for a while, so
Yep, we've been here for 20 years. But
yeah. Okay, so going back to taking over now, I believe with Maria Parham Franklin, and I'm going to try to make sure I say that correctly. I know when I first started here, I was corrected often because it's not Maria, it's not Parham. I'm trying to think of all the other different ways. It's Maria Parham. What is the position is a newly created position for the Lewisburg division of the greater organization, right?
Correct. It is. So when the hospital was reopened by Maria Parham about 4 years ago, the way that we had our administration team structured, we did not have a director that was specific to the site. So all of our administrators kind of took turns managing the site and overseeing the different operations throughout the facility. And as the facility's grown and we've gotten our feet under us a little bit, over the last year, we decided we needed an executive presence down here to really push and grow and do what we need to for the county of Franklin, the Franklin County and Lewisburg community.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to have. I mean, that shows the commitment that Maria Parham has to Franklin County and to Lewisburg, that you have that sort of special attention to make sure that and it's one of those things. Is I know as you grow, as the county grows. I mean, we've had to add different positions here and there throughout county government because as we grow, you have to have those positions so that we can manage effectively. So that's good to hear that the Maria Parham has been doing that. So with Maria Parham, y'all have been, I'm going to try to remember from some research, 2018? Okay, 2018 is when y'all, we'll say, established services here in Lewisburg at the old, what do they call it, Franklin County Medical Center site?
Franklin Regional Medical Center,
yeah. That's what I thought. So what are and I know obviously these have probably have been, this is more of an updated view of the services offered, but what services does Maria Parham have at the site here in Lewisburg?
So here in Lewisburg, we have a freestanding emergency department. So we see anything that comes in that's an emergency, get many transports from Franklin County EMS, which we work very closely with to help their operations. We have a full-service emergency department, and then we have outpatient services that include lab and radiology services. So anyone needing those services can come directly to the hospital to get that taken care of. And then we have a 33-bed inpatient psychiatric facility. 13 of those beds are geriatric psych beds, so individuals 55 and older. And then there's a 20-bed adult unit that was opened 2 years ago that is ages 18 to 55.
Okay.
We also have 2 outpatient clinics that are here in the community. One is right next to the hospital. That is our women's and primary care clinic. And then we just opened a second location a month ago, not quite a month ago, at the Sandalwood location. That is our Maria Parham specialty care clinic with multiple specialists that come down to service the community.
Okay. And I know one of the things, I know there was a sort of a push to kind of let people know about some of these services, especially the lab work and radiology services, that you can get that stuff done here without having to go to a larger area, so like Raleigh or Henderson, or I don't know if people go into Nash County or for some of that, but you can actually get that stuff done here in Lewisburg. And I know y'all were sort of trying to remind people about some of those services.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. That's why we wanted to come back to the community and make sure that the Lewisburg and Franklin County community had that health care at their fingertips and didn't have to travel outside of their community to get quality health care.
You guys are celebrating something I saw the other day. You probably know way more about this, but I did happen to see the Leapfrog Hospital safety grade of an A, which is always good to get an A.
Yes, it is. That is something we are very proud of. It's very difficult to achieve, and we have achieved it. We have been working very hard as a health system to really show our quality in patient outcomes and safety, and we made it. So we have been celebrating that. We were the top in the region for scoring an A, and very proud of that, and it speaks volumes to the care that we can provide.
In thinking about the different, we talked about numbers before we got on. Are there some numbers that we can put out there that sort of give an idea of what you do there at the hospital? Just any numbers, putting you on the spot, but
Sure. Our emergency department sees anywhere from 35 to 60 patients a day, depending on the EMS transports and the number of folks that walk in. It's been a very busy couple of months with the flu. Of course, COVID kept us busy in some ways, but slowed down the hospital in many other ways. Radiology and lab, we see, I don't even know, an average number that we see per day. We have definitely seen growth especially in the emergency room, from starting out 4 years ago. We did see a dip during COVID because people were scared to get health care and come to the hospital. And probably averaged about 20 visits a day prior to COVID, 20 to 30. And now we're seeing that all rebounding and exceeding where we had even budgeted for. So we are seeing a great amount of growth in all of our service areas at the hospital, which has been wonderful to see people coming and us being able to take care of them.
Yeah, and one thing I try not to take for granted, even being not in the medical field, is that some people, we might need to back up and explain what a freestanding emergency room is and what the kind of things that you can get the services for in the emergency room here. Because obviously, if you're going to have a bullet, wound, or the bullet went straight through your heart or something. I mean, if it's a high level trauma, we'll have to go to a wake med or somewhere like that, because those are very very difficult cases. But what are the things that you see most often?
The things we see most often, you're right, we're not a trauma center, so there are things that have to go to a bigger, larger system. If it requires open heart surgery, we do not provide open heart surgery. And if it's a stroke happening, depends on the timing of when EMS gets to the patient and what exactly they need, on whether or not they stop at our facility, and we can handle that. Many patients with high trauma, if it's a gunshot wound, depending on on the level of trauma, EMS will take them to a higher level of care because that's what's needed. But as far as being a freestanding emergency department, we can handle pretty much anything that comes our way. If it's something that we can't handle, we will stabilize the patient and get them off to the next higher level of care that's needed, whether that's Duke Lifeline coming in with their ground truck or their helicopter to get them to the right location. If somebody needs to be admitted and Maria Parham can handle that, they will have them transported to the hospital in Henderson for an overnight stay if that's needed. So as a as a freestanding emergency department, we do not have any acute care beds. So if it's something that does need to be admitted, that patient would be transferred to hopefully Maria Parham in Henderson if we can handle it, otherwise to a tertiary facility.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, if it's we'll say if it's not necessarily as life-threatening in some ways, because most of that stuff seems life-threatening, but, obviously you have a pretty deep cut or something like that that will definitely need some hospital attention. They're ready to do that sort of thing. I'll say, is there anything that you can think of maybe that people don't know about the what you offer there? I mean, is there anything that's kind of like, you always think of these little hidden gems that you have in your situation. Do you have a little hidden gem of what do people maybe not know about or not think about that Maria Parham Franklin offers?
I think the outpatient services and our physician practices are really the hidden gems. We have labs, any kind of labs that you need, we can provide that instead of having to go to a bigger facility or outside of town. In radiology, we can do X-ray, CT, and mammograms on site. And the best part about our physician practices, we have specialists that are coming to the area frequently. We have a cardiologist that comes, orthopedics that are here a couple times a week. We have GI services on site. We have nephrology and pain physicians that come. So those specialty services are available right here, and any procedures that need to be done, it can happen in Henderson instead of driving to a bigger city and dealing A, with traffic and B, with parking, that you will get high-quality, leapfrog A, high-quality care at Maria Parham. And one thing we're very proud of is that we are now bringing OBGYN services to the community. So in 2023, we will have an OBGYN here in our Maria Parham Primary and Women's Care Clinic next to the hospital, which is a service that the community has not had for quite a while. So we're very happy to bring that back to the community. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I was going to ask. And that's probably one of the things I was going to ask, what is on the horizon? I mean, what are you looking down the road at adding and doing? Because I know as things become more and more popular and, there's more of a need there, you can provide it. But what's on the horizon?
Absolutely. We are now in some deep discussions about reoperationalizing some different parts of the hospital that are not used now. Unfortunately, the upper levels of the hospital would take quite a bit of funding to get back up to code, but we're looking at what it would look like to have our ORs back in working order, to be able to provide some either GI coverage scopes, colonoscopies, those types of things on site, and some other orthopedic surgeries, general surgery cases on an outpatient basis. So that would be ideal for us to be able to do that back here in the county.
Mm-hmm. And I know, and that's, exciting to think about, potentially some of those things being brought back as I know COVID and a lot of things created a kind of a strange strain upon all of healthcare. I know that because my wife was a nurse. We didn't live here, but and things got shut down. She actually was an OR nurse during COVID, and she got furloughed for 4 months. And I was also working remotely from home because when I was a reporter, we had to do that. So she realized she doesn't like to be at home that much, and she got she got tired of painting walls and stuff like that. So I know about. She was like, I hear the ORs may be opening back up, so I might get to go back to work. And she actually before they, because she was in the heart OR. And she was the person pre-COVID that they needed because they realized they needed a third person. She was in training for that position, but when COVID hit, they realized, well, they didn't really need the extra person right now. So she got put on that to the point where she said, I can't stay at home anymore and be on furlough, be on unemployment and all this. So she volunteered to go into what the hospital that she worked for, the supplemental staffing pool, which just about guaranteed you we're going to work on a COVID floor, which of course she did. Mm-hmm. And she went up there, and she was one of the few people who volunteered to go back into that because she just couldn't stand being at home, until she could get a position back in the OR. So yeah, there was a lot of things that COVID that kind of messed up in the medical world, and we were feeling that at home. So I know within Franklin County, I've seen some different things that you guys are doing in the community to sort of remind people, to tell people about the different services. I know I see I will say from a media marketing standpoint, when I drove down Bickett and I saw the billboard, I was like, actually, that's a really good billboard. That actually for this community and some other things, sometimes that older kind of thing with billboards is a great way to get messages to people. But what are some of the things you're doing in the community as far as like outreach to let people know?
So I'll speak to the billboards. All of the billboards that we have are our staff that are on the billboards, which is really cool. We've had a lot of great comments from community members saying, hey, I know them. That's my neighbor. And they know that they're going to get good care when they see them, which is the biggest benefit of a community hospital. So we try really hard to be involved in the community. We have ownership on the Franklin Chamber of Commerce board. We try to get involved in any kind of activity that we can. We have a very strong showing with the senior center. We've done lunch and learns and cooking classes with them, exercise classes with the senior center. We're working closely with Lewisburg College to try to bring back some student health nurse practitioner on campus for them. We have been doing a United Way campaign right now, hoping to raise some money for the local United Way chapter. Anything that we can be involved in, participating in a parade, going downtown, being present, we want to be there. Working with the schools, starting to try to get in more with the schools and seeing what we can do to help in that realm as well. So we are here for the community. It's been fun over the last couple of years to get a little bit more involved. Of course, COVID made us take a step back from that, but we love being involved. If there are events out there, we want to be there. We want to be present. We want to be part of all the great things that are going on with Franklin County.
And let's see, like I told on these things, these podcasts, I don't have a list of questions. I do this sort of just freehand, just a conversation. But I'll go back to you on this. Is there anything that you might have prepared for that we hadn't talked about?
No, I have not, but I'm not a very good singer, but I can sure try to sing if you want me to. You don't want me to. It's
it's not really a singing podcast. We're talking about information, what we did as a staff, talking about Franklin County's history and all that, and our planning director shared the Franklin County song.
Oh.
And a lot of other department directors were wondering if he was going to sing it for us, and he would not sing it for us. But there was a song written almost 100 years ago, I think, which is interesting on this. So there is a Franklin County song.
Maria Parham does not have a song.
Yeah, no mottos and songs. Jingles. Any jingles? No?
I don't think we have a jingle.
Oh, okay.
I'd be happy to create one, though.
And I would say if the thing that people miss sometimes about jingles is the old school jingles are the ones you always remember.
It's true.
And people tried these new things, and I go back to some of these different things, and it came up to me a while back. It was probably done in maybe the 70s or 80s, but there's a convenience store in many parts of South Carolina called Little Cricket, and they have a commercial that I remember growing up as a kid. And it's, a guy going, Little Cricket. And then another guy's talking about he's hungry and he wants a Twinkie. And then at the end of the song, the guy doing the deep voice messes something up. And he says, no, you're supposed to say this. And he just says, he basically responds to whatever the guy was just said and sort of that thing. But it reminds me of those little jingles that we had. One time I had gotten a car in Myrtle Beach, and the Chrysler Jeep was Myrtle Beach Chrysler Jeep. We're going to win you over. And they had this whole jingle song built for it. And it was so catchy. It was so catchy. You'd hear it on the radio. And it's just one of those things that you're, doing something, hours later, and you're starting to hum that little jingle that you heard. And there's some truth to some of the older marketing techniques that people had that actually still really work these days. So those are always fun. Jingles are always fun. So
the next time I come on the podcast, I'm going to have a Maria Parham jingle.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I don't know of any. There probably is. If I would have been around longer, maybe I would know of some other jingles in Franklin County. Maybe there's some out there, but there's I don't know. I don't know of any that come to mind, but there are some fun things out there. I miss old school jingles and things like that. So, but like we said, the old school marketing things like the billboards and stuff like that, because there's people in Franklin County that they're going to not have access to internet right now. We're working on getting the services out there, but there's some places still that are a bit unreachable for that. Some that are more remote, and if they don't have a different sort of news service that they're getting information for, you're not going to be able to get to them unless you mail them something, and direct mail is expensive. So things like that, when you're driving down Bickett, as most people will have to do in this county at some point in time, if you see one of those billboards. So I will say, good job on the marketing there. But that could be just my crazy ideas. So,
no comment.
You don't have to go with that. I know you enjoyed, like I mentioned earlier, we did Leadership Franklin. I know for me, that was a particularly timely thing. I think I got to send the application my third week here. So I thought, looking at what they do, and I said, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to experience and learn a lot about agriculture, education, even government. When I was putting together the county government day, I was still learning a lot from other places within the court system or with the county government and the businesses and all kinds of different things that's going on in the county. So I guess we'll have a little quick plug for the Chamber's Leadership Franklin. If you've never done that, believe they still have openings for the next Leadership Franklin, because I think they don't close it off to the end of January. So if you are listening to this before the end of January, you may still have a chance to get in on that. So that was a fun time.
It was, and I would agree. It was very timely for me as well. I started right before Leadership Franklin started, and it was a wonderful opportunity to get to see things in a new area. Even though I live in Oxford, I've been in this area for a while, but not in Franklin County and not in Lewisburg. So it was great. All of the inner workings and different businesses, not to mention the relationships that were built between all of the participants, getting connected with other city folks and business owners. It was awesome. I highly recommend anyone in the area, even if you've lived here. We had a couple people in our class who had lived here for a long time, and they were very excited about things that they had no idea even existed in their county that they've been living in.
I mean, down in Youngsville, they have a Hill Ridge Farms. To me, is like a mini Dollywood. With the train, they got a train, and the carousel and all that stuff, and it's just amazing to know some of these little hidden gems. I think we're going to maybe get to go to a gold mine, but didn't get a chance to. And then we missed out on that tilapia farm, which I was kind of disappointed in that. I never don't even know how that works. So, so that was a good thing. That's where we met, and we had a pretty good class of people. So it was a lot of good contacts to be made, even going through with the job to know who some of these people are, and kind of good contacts. Because if you need to, talk with someone in their organization, you can go to your friend from Leadership Franklin and say, "Hey, I need to get in touch with that person. What's the best way to do that?" So it's a great networking thing. And if you get into Leadership Franklin 2023, I'll tell you, County Day next year is going to be awesome because after being through it one year, I know all the things I want to do next year. So check.
And we've asked to have a healthcare day added, so hopefully be coming to the hospital as well. Yep,
that would be a very good thing. Get a tour of the hospital among all the other things you get to tour. Would be great. So if you are interested in that, check out the Greater Franklin County Chamber of Commerce, and there's an application there for that. Well, that's about all the time we have left for today. Tune in for more informative programming about what is happening in Franklin County. Like or subscribe to the Franklin County NC podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and share a comment or review. To find out more about Franklin County NC, go to our website at www.franklincountync.gov. Sign up for our email newsletter while you are there. For all of us here in Franklin County, I'm James Hicks, and we'll talk to you soon.